let's see, we're going to start lying on our backs. So if you have a yoga mat, you're going to lay on your yoga mat. If you don't, lay on a blanket or some carpet or somewhere that you can be comfortable lying for several minutes. And so I like to start all of my classes lying down because I think it's the most accessible way to get comfortable. So the invitation is to get comfortable. You can have your legs straight or your knees bent. You can have your arms by your sides or overhead, or your hands on your belly. So just make sure that your parts are organized in a way that you can relax. Once you've landed in that comfortable position, close your eyes. And I like to take an intentional moment and the intention of shifting from whatever you were doing before, most likely working, to this very internal experiential practice. And so move your awareness into your body. Feel your body. Feel the way you make contact with the floor. And invite some general sense of ease into your body, especially around your mouth. So you can unglue your tongue from the roof of your mouth and let it drop down into the base of the mouth. Let your teeth be slightly parted and your eyes rest softly in your eye sockets. Let the skin of your face relax. And then everyone, take your hands onto your torso, and you're going to place your hands right at your low ribs, upper belly area. So where your low ribs become your belly, just loosely place your hands there. If you're not quite sure, I'm modeling here on the video. This is the primary placement of your diaphragm. It's kind of a shotgun method, but pretty darn close, because the diaphragm attaches to the base of your ribs. And your diaphragm is your main muscle of breathing. And so the invitation is to start to feel your breath underneath your hands. And for some of you, that might mean that your breath has to get a little bit fuller, a little bit bigger. So in yoga practice, we are interested in like 20 to 30% fuller breath than your natural breath. So you take a little more breath in, you move a little bit more breath out. We're going to take one more minute here to settle and prepare and breathe. And so as best as you can, stay soft and just feel your breath expanding and contracting. So after your next exhale breath, you can bend your knees if they're not already bent, and step your feet as wide as your mat, or if you're not on a mat, step them wider than your hips. And then take your arms either straight out to the sides, or you can bend at your elbows and take the backs of your arms to the floor. We call this field goal arms or cactus arms. Okay, so we're just gonna move with the breath. So you'll take a nice big inhale here. As you exhale, keep your feet wide and let your knees sweep over to the left. Inhale, knees come through the center. Exhale, knees go to the right. It's like windshield wipers, side to side. Stay with your breath. So the inhales return you to the center, and the exhales sweep your knees off to the side. Don't be in a rush. Try to use the full extent of your breath to do the movement. The next time your knees go off to the side, turn your head in the opposite direction of your knees. Try to stay really fluid, really graceful with your movement. This work is really effective for smoothing out the nervous system. Moving gracefully with breath. A couple more times each way. After the next time you go to the right, then you'll be even on both sides, and just return to the center. Keep your feet wide to let your knees rest against one another. Bring your hands back to your diaphragm, to the place where your low ribs become your belly, and take a couple full breaths. And then heel toe your feet a little closer together so they're more like hip distance. And take your arms down by your sides. This next action is just rocking the pelvis front to back. So as you inhale, tip your pubic bone away from your face and let your middle back come up off the floor. So you create a back bend in your low and middle back. As you exhale, tip your pubic bone towards your face. Your sitting bones will tuck under. And then keep going. Inhale, create a back bend as you tip your pelvis away from your face, like you're going to spill water out of the front of your pelvis. And then exhale, scoop your fronts of your hips towards your face. So your tailbone and in the back of your pelvis, your sacrum rounds. All right, so you move with your own breath. And if you get really loose and soft in your head and your neck, then your head and your neck will come along for the ride. So try to let the head just drag along as your spine moves. And it creates a mimicking action in the head and the pelvis. 20 more seconds or so. And after your next exhale, pause, release your pelvis back to neutral, and you can shake your head a little bit side to side. Then stretch both legs out long and catch opposite elbows in front of your chest. So you make like a square with your arms. And then sweep your arms up and over your head. Okay, then peel your right toes back toward the top of your right shin. Press through your right heel, and at the same time, reach your right elbow away from your right heel. So you elongate through the right side of the body, the right front half of the body. And then swap over, reach your left elbow up, peel your left toes back toward your shin, press out through your left heel. So it's an oppositional action of foot reaching away from elbow. Let's just go side to side at your own pacing. So again, you'll swap back to the right, press through right heel, spread your right toes, get some air between your toes, and reach up through your elbow, elongate the muscles between your ribs and your hip flexing muscles. That's a nice one to do for sitters of the world. Need to release hip flexors. We'll do some more stuff for that. Keep going 1 or 2 more times each way. And then when you're even on 2 sides, release your arms. Take your hands back to your belly, low rib area. Find your diaphragm and breathe. If it's uncomfortable to keep your legs long, you can certainly bend your knees. Relax your tongue. Make sure your teeth aren't clenching. Okay, bend your knees and take your right leg straight up in the air. And then interlace your hands behind your right thigh. Depending on how tight you are in the hamstring zone, you can have a little bend in your knee, or you can have a totally straight leg. Just like we did in the previous movement, spread your toes and pull your toes back toward your shin. So really stretch out through your calf muscle and your Achilles tendon. And then without yanking, you can gently bend your elbows a little bit if you have more room to grow, and bring your leg a little bit closer to your face. If you're an athlete, specifically a runner or a cyclist, this might not be that pleasant. And again, you can certainly have a bend in your knee. Let's take 2 more breaths. After your second exhale, release the right leg, just swap over to the left, stretch your left leg up. Interlace your fingers, but change your grip so you're in your non-dominant clasp. Put your other thumb on top. And clasp your hands, spread your toes. Peel your toes back toward the top of your shin, press up through your heel, stretch the back of your left leg. Option to keep your heel just right over your hip, or wherever you are, just start, or the option to start to draw your foot a little bit closer to your face. And if there's resistance, don't force. Rather allow. Typically when we give poses a little time, a little space, a little breath, they release to allow us to go deeper, but please don't force. Let's take 2 more breaths. Bottom of your second exhale, release, place your left foot down. And then walk your heels in quite close to your sitting bones. So you might be able to reach down and touch your heels with your middle finger. That's a good sign that your heels are close enough. If you've got a mat, grab the sides of your mat. If you're not on a mat, just put your palms to face down and then press into your heels, lift your hips up a little bit and tuck your shoulders underneath you. You try to pull your shoulder blades together. Then press into your feet again, lift your hips up higher. Firm your buns, so squeeze your buns strong to lift the fronts of your hips. Let's take 5 nice, long, slow breaths. Make sure you're not clenching your teeth, relax the muscles of your face, and pay attention to your breath. So you're in charge of the breath after your 5th full breath. Then you can lower your hips back down. And we'll rest one more time on our backs. So when you come down, untuck your shoulders. And one last time, rest your hands on your diaphragm. And you can keep your knees bent or you can stretch your legs long as we take our final few breaths on the floor. And then let's bend the knees and roll over through either side. You're going to flip all the way onto your belly. Rest your forehead onto the floor and slide your hands so that they're right underneath your shoulders. So your fingertips point towards your head. Press the tops of your feet down, press your pelvis down, and then lift up in your head, your chin, your chest. This is the Cobra Pose, the Bhujangasana. Firm your legs, roll your shoulders back, breathe. Let's take one more full breath. On your end of your exhale, release, rest your forehead down to the floor. Second set, Cobra Pose, Bhujangasana. Press your pelvis down, press the tops of your feet down and come up head, chin, chest. Roll your shoulders back. This time, we're going to make it harder. Lift your hands and float them an inch or so off your mat. And then squeeze your elbows together behind you to really turn on your back muscles. Hold, breathe. Release, forehead to the mat, pause. One more time, same entrance, press the feet down, pelvis down, come up in your head, chin, chest. Roll your shoulders back. Now, squeeze your legs strong and lift both legs up off the floor. Spread your toes. You can stay here, or one step harder is to lift your hands and hover your hands off the floor. Pull your elbows together. Soft gaze, soft breath. Take another full breath. And release down. Turn your head to either side and just rest your arms by your sides. Take a couple breaths. When you're ready, slide your hands under your shoulders, curl your toes under, press yourself up through your hands and your knees. We're going to stay on hands and knees. So walk your hands a little bit forward and turn your hands slightly out. You want your index fingers to be parallel to one another. So your hands are slightly turned out. And then shift your weight forward so that your shoulders are right over your wrists. And really push the mat away. Then walk your knees a little bit behind your hips. So you have a slightly elongated stance. Most of you probably know this upcoming movement. It's called the cat-cow pose. We're going to back bend and round the spine. So with your inhale breath, you're going to drop your belly down, stick your buns out behind you, look forward and back bend. As you exhale, push your mat away, curl your chin in towards your chest, and round your upper back up toward the ceiling. Once again, inhale, drop the belly down, stick your buns out behind you, look forward, roll your shoulders back. Exhale, pull the navel to the spine, push the mat away, and curl your chin in towards your chest. Continue and move at your own pacing, so your breath might be different than mine. Please work in your own breath rhythm. One more. After your second exhale, come back to neutral. So you're neither back bending nor back rounding in the tabletop position. Then pull your navel to your spine. So draw your belly back like you're trying to pin your belly button to your spine. This is our neutral spine position. We create a little bit of abdominal engagement by drawing the belly back. Take 2 more breaths. Okay, then look forward and step your right foot between your hands. And then come up to your fingertips and maybe you scoot your left knee back a little bit. So as I mentioned earlier, we're looking, as sitters, we're looking for ways to release the fronts of the hips. So if you move the left knee back a little bit, you'll get that nice elongation for the front of the left hip. Okay, press your right heel down, spread your right toes, and lift your chest. Let's take 5 full breaths here. Then step your left hand a little bit forward and take your right hand to your right knee. You're gonna squeeze your right knee in as you push through your left hand and just rotate your torso towards your right knee. So pull your right shoulder back, slide your left shoulder forward and twist. Lean a little bit back in your torso. Take another full breath. And then unwind, plant your hands, step your right knee back, come back to your tabletop position, pause. And then step your left foot forward. Again, option to elongate your stance by moving your right knee back a little bit. Come up to your fingertips and push down into your fingertips and lift your chest. 5 full breaths here. After your 5th breath, step your right hand forward. Take your left hand to your left knee. Brace your knee as you push into the right hand and rotate to the left. Again, pull your top shoulder back. It's your left shoulder and your right shoulder forward. And rotate your spine. And maybe you lean a little bit back. All right, come on out. Plant your hands, step your left leg back, come to your tabletop position. And then take your knees right together, tuck all 10 of your toes under, and come to sit back on your heels. Now this will not be pleasant. We call this the broken toe pose. I have to reach back and untuck my pinky toes because I usually don't want to comply. Okay, great. Then interlace your fingers out in front of you, spin your palms to face forward, and with an inhale breath, sweep your arms up. Keep your sitting bones glued to your heels and reach up through your palms. Really lift the sides of your waist up. Couple big full breaths. All right, release. Walk your hands back out. Hands under shoulders, untuck your toes, and I like to just lightly pound out the tops of my feet on the mat to release my feet. Let's find our lunge pose again. So look forward, step your right foot between your hands. Slide your left knee back a little bit and come up to your fingertips. This time, let's use a little bit more engagement. So pull your navel to your spine, firm your left glutes. So firm up your left bun, and then walk your hands to the top of your right knee. Lift your torso up. Try to stay nice and low in your hips, but keep that engagement action. Draw your belly back, firm your left glutes. Take your right hand to your right hip and stretch your left arm straight up in the air. Big full inhale breath. As you exhale, twist to the right. Hook your left elbow outside your right knee. This is significantly deeper than the previous twist. Pull your right shoulder back. And then if you feel well balanced, take your hands together in prayer and turn a little bit more to the right. Unclench your teeth, soften your gaze. Look down, carefully unwind, and step back to the tabletop position. Plant your hands under your shoulders, spread your fingers, push your hands down, and draw your navel to your spine. Second side, step your left foot forward. Elongate the right knee back and come up to your fingertips. Pull your belly back, firm your right bun, and bring your hands to the left knee and come up. Sweep your right arm up and take your left hand to your left hip. One more big inhale, elongate. As you exhale, cross your right elbow to your outer left knee. Hold here, draw your belly back once more, and pull your left shoulder back. And then if you have the balance, take your palms together. Push your palms together and turn. Soft gaze, soft breath. Look down, touch your hands down. Step back to your tabletop position. And let's just do a couple more cat-cows to close out our sequence on the hands and knees. So inhale to back bend, look forward. Exhale to round, curl your head in, push with your hands. After your next exhale, come back to your neutral spine. And then just make your way up to stand. So standing in Tadasana, the mountain pose, you want all 10 of your toes to point straight ahead. So whether your big toes are together or your feet are hip distance, make the outer edges of your feet parallel. Shift a little bit of weight back into your heels and really press your heels down. So feel your heels rooting, and then keep that rooting action. Shift weight a little bit forward into the fronts of the feet so that you have an even weight distribution in the back and the front of your foot. Spread your toes. Roll your shoulders slightly back and lift up through the crown of your head. So our standing pose builds from the rooting of the feet up through the legs, through the crown of the head. Drop your tongue and breathe. And then take your big toes right together. I'm going to turn to the side. You can stay whatever direction you're in. Take your big toes right together and keep a small space between your heels. And then take your hands to your hips. Pull your elbows together behind you so you lift your chest. Take a nice inhale. As you exhale, bend your knees and sit really low into like a squatting position. Squeeze your knees together, pull your belly back, and lift your chest up. Shift a little bit of weight back into your heels. So you should be able to wiggle your toes. It's a quad burner. Let's take 2 more breaths. Squeeze the knees. Breathe. And press into your feet, come up to stand. Release your arms by your sides. Take a couple full breaths. Mountain pose, Tadasana. Root the feet, lift up through the spine. We're going to repeat that pose. Utkatasana means the fierce pose. This time we're going to incorporate the arms. So take your arms straight out in front of you. Turn your palms to face in. Inhale, stretch your arms up. Exhale, bend your knees and sit down into your squat. Squeeze your knees together. Shift weight back into your heels. Pull your belly back and now lift your arms up, chest up. Couple full breaths. And push into your feet. Reach your arms up, stretch up, and release. Arms down by your sides. Okay, separate your feet so that they're hip distance apart. So your heels are right underneath your hips. And then stretch your arms up and grab onto your right wrist with your left hand. Inhale, stretch up. Exhale, side bend over to the left. So pull on your right wrist with your left hand. Squeeze your legs. Draw your navel to your spine. And shift your hips more to the right. Try to breathe easy into the right side lung. 1 more breath. Inhale to come up. Swap over to the other side. Clasp your left wrist with your right hand. Lengthen up on an inhale. Exhale, side bend to the right. Squeeze your thighs firm. Move your hips more to the left and pull your belly back. One more full deep breath. Inhale to rise up. Exhale, release. Arms down by your sides. Pause, Tadasana, mountain pose. Spread out through your toes. Lift up nice and tall. Let's keep the feet at hip distance and shift weight over into your left leg. You're going to rotate your right toes out to the right. We're going to take this into the tree pose. So there's three ways to place your foot in tree pose. The easiest way is to kickstand your foot on the floor. Or you can take your foot to your calf, or you can go above your knee joint and take your foot to your thigh. So choose the most appropriate setting for yourself. Please avoid the knee joint. And then you can take hands to prayer. Or if you feel especially balanced, you could stretch both arms straight up in the air. Squeeze your left hip in, pull your navel to your spine, and breathe. Cast your gaze somewhere that's soft but sustainable. All right, release. Set your right foot down. Shift your weight over into your right leg and rotate your left toes out. And then same scenario, either kickstand, come to your calf, or come above your knee joint, left foot to your inner thigh. Hands can be in prayer, or you can stretch your arms straight up in the air if you're particularly well balanced. Squeeze your right hip in and draw your navel to your spine. Cast your gaze somewhere steady. Find your breath. Release, arms down, set your left foot down. All right, so if you're on a yoga mat, turn to face the long edge of your mat. And then we'll step the feet out really wide. So you know that you're wide enough if you stretch your arms out to the sides and your wrists are in line with your ankles. Then take your hands to your hips. Pull your elbows together behind you, lift your chest. Take big inhale breath. Exhale, hinge at your hips and fold forward and take your hands to the floor. Now, if the floor is very far away, bend your knees. Come up to your fingertips and shift your weight forward into the fronts of your feet. So don't hang back in your heels. And then squeeze your kneecaps to your thighs. So really turn on your quads. Pull your navel to your spine and look forward. So we have this lifting action in the spine here. See if you could even get your back muscles to turn on. If you can keep the lift in your spine, maybe you go palms flat to the floor. Press down through your feet, firm your legs. Take 2 more breaths here. Then we start to walk the hands back so that they line up with the heels. Drop your head and fold your head towards the mat. Once again, press down through your feet, firm your legs, and release the back of the head and neck. If your hands are all the way back in line with your heels, bend your elbows and pull them towards one another. Couple more breaths. Shift weight out of your heels. into the front of the feet. Walk your hands forward. Heel toe your feet a little closer together, and then put a bend in your knees, take your hands to your hips, come all the way up to stand, and step your feet together. Release arms by sides. From our standing poses, we always come back to Tadasana. It's our neutral, central standing pose so that we can regroup around the spine, the midline, and breathe. So again, feel your feet lift up through your chest. Breathe. Let's step the feet out wide again. So again, you want to go wide enough that your wrists are in line with your ankles. You can always do a test. And then take your hands to your hips and turn your right toes all the way to the right and your left toes in about 45 degrees. And then bend your right knee. You want to land your right knee right over your right heel. So drop through your right sitting bone. Press your left heel down. Stretch your arms out wide. Warrior two. Steer your right knee towards your right pinky toe. One more breath, sit a little bit lower. And then straighten your right leg, take your hands to your hips. And we just changed to the other side. Turn your left toes out, turn your right toes in. Bend your left knee. Try to land your left knee right over your left heel. Press your right heel down and firm both of your legs. Stretch your arms wide. Take a look at your left knee. Steer your left knee towards your left pinky toe. And drop a little bit lower in your left thigh. Take one more full breath. And then straighten your left leg. Take your hands to your hips. Flip all 10 of your toes straight ahead. Pause here in the center. We're going to go back to the first side. So turn your right toes out and your left toes in. And this time, keep your right leg straight. So press down into your right toe mound and squeeze your right quad. Stretch your arms out wide. Now we side bend to the right. So reach your right hand to the right. Take your right hand onto your right leg and stretch your left arm straight up in the air. If that causes any strain in your neck or your shoulder, you can just keep your left hand on your hip. Okay, feel your feet. So really root your feet into your mat. Turn on your thighs and rotate your torso from the right to the left. 2 more full breaths. This is the triangle pose, Trikonasana. Dynamically pull with your left hand to rise up out of your pose. And then change to the other side. Flip your left toes out and your right toes in. Stretch your arms out wide. Firm your legs and lean to the left. Take your left hand to your left leg and your right arm goes either straight up in the air or your hand to your hip. If you get any tension in the shoulder neck area, definitely take the hand to the hip. Okay, feel the root of your feet. And now turn your chest to the right. Stretch up actively through the right hand. Breathe. Firm your legs, dynamically pull up with the right arm. Rise, rise, rise. Turn your 10 toes to point straight ahead. Heel toe your feet in a little bit closer and then step your feet together. Last time standing, Tadasana. Press down through your feet, spread your toes, stand up tall. Let's come back to lie on our backs. So please lay down with your knees bent. And just draw both knees into your chest, wrap your arms around your legs, and hug your knees in. You can rock and roll a little bit side to side or front to back. And then when you're ready, set your feet back to the floor and stretch your legs out long. Take your arms down by your sides and just gently draw your shoulder blades slightly together underneath you. You have a nice broad expanse across your collarbones and your chest. If it's uncomfortable in any way to lay flat, you could bend your knees or you could pull a pillow or blanket behind your knees. Close your eyes. One more time, drop and release your tongue away from the roof of your mouth. And here, we allow for a total rest. So demuscularize, release effort, and become soft. stay soft and still and deepen your breath. And then you can make some awakening movements in your hands and feet, in your wrists and ankles. And take your time. When you're ready, you'll bend your knees, roll over to your side and slip your arm underneath your head. So you transition out through your side. And try to keep your head and neck soft. Use your top arm, hand down to press yourself up. I'd like to close with just a couple of moments of seated meditation. So if you have a pillow or a blanket somewhere nearby that you could sit on, or you can even sit in a chair, it's nice to have a little lift for your hips in your seat. It's just more comfortable for the hips and the low back. So find a comfortable setting for your legs. And again, I'll encourage you, if it's not comfortable to sit on the floor, just sit in a chair. Rest your hands on your legs and sit with a nice tall spine. So close your eyes and feel your head balancing right on your spine. Find that loose setting in the jaw and the tongue and the throat. And then our meditation today is just super simple. Feel your breath coming in, feel your breath going out. Typically, the mind is very easily distracted. And so without judging yourself, just continuously shepherd your attention back to your breath. And again, just feel your breath come in, feel your breath go out. Stay soft around your head, your eyes. And try to stay with the concentration of the breath. Concentration on the breath. Let's take one more breath. Let's join our hands together at heart center. And we'll close with a final bow. Bow your head to your hands.